We're recording, and welcome everybody to platformOS Town Hall number 60. Come on, Scott. I know you've been away for a while, but you've got a 65. He did. He nailed it. All right. Very good. And we have the pleasure of Urszula Richards of onlineiq, Web Team Adelaide, marketer extraordinaire, who is delivering some, taking us through a case study on her experiences with working with the Siteglide team, the amazing Siteglide team, along with just some of the general state of play from your experience, Ursh, on the business catalyst end of life and how you got to where you are. So over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Pleasure to be here. I'm broadcasting to you from sunny Noosa. My slide deck is very basic and it's really my talking notes. So just bear with that part of it. It's just really for me to remember what I'm meant to be talking about. But I'm going to be showing you some examples of a whole lot of stuff in Siteglide, including, hang on, just let me sort out my slide deck. So I'll be talking about how we made the decision to work with Siteglide, how together with others we've been involved in feedback to help evolve the product and to help shape partner offerings. And it's a really ongoing process, so I'm going to be really encouraging everybody to do the same because the results of us doing that are fantastic. How I assess sites for migrations, so what sites are ready for migration from Business Catalyst and how to assess that. And examples of the first few migrations that we've done and some tips and learnings and some challenges, solutions and ideas for discussion. So I did want to open it up for a discussion because it's through the collaboration that we will really get what we want. So like lots of partners, for the longest time, I couldn't decide how to choose a platform. And I'd been attending lots of town halls. I think it was even earlier than this time, getting up early and listening and having a really keen interest in everything that the major partners were doing. And I was trying to work out where someone like me fits into that system. Making a decision was really, really difficult because it's such a complex mix of the functionality that we need, hosting plans, and as we know, Business Catalyst was very, very underpriced for what it provided. But at the same time, our clients are used to that price point, and we knew that they were experiencing a lot of pain just having to move. So we were really stuck with what to do there. And of course, working out which team we wanted to work with. Excuse me. So we really needed to get it right for our client to move. And you've all been part of this. I know there's just been so many options and so many roadmaps that our brains were pretty much exploding. And so that's when I realized that a lot of the information, because the things were changing so quickly, things like documentation and information may have been correct at a particular moment in time, but it moves on very quickly after that. So all of these, the new options that were coming up were in rapid stages of development. And when we got one little bit of information, well, not, I don't mean that to sound like a little bit of information, but the information we had, you know, would often change not long after we had received it. And that's because development's very agile and responsive. And so it's hard to keep up with documentation and communication across all channels, not just from the people creating the documentation, but also from us consuming it. So essentially, the last point of contact with information that's out there may be outdated. And that was definitely the case with me. So that's when I realised that I needed to start talking to Luke and the Siteglide team. Now, you might be wondering why I decided to talk. I'd been talking to lots of different people, but I kept getting little nudges from the community. You've really got to talk to Luke. So I thought there must be something in that, why they think that I should talk to Luke. And in the end, the decision of which platform you go with, it's very unique to your own business, your own skill set, and I guess your own values and how you like to work. So it's everyone's decision is very unique to their particular business context. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about our context so that you could see why I've made that decision. So our team, Web Team Adelaide, it's a combination of business catalyst partners who each have their own businesses. So predominantly they run their own businesses. But as a team, we can, pitch for bigger projects, and we support each other and we give each other work based on each other's capabilities. We also put in, other specialists such as SEO people, content writers and so on, and they're employed as contractors. We also have a couple of outsourced experienced BC developers and even a WordPress specialist. So Peter is a genius. He's amazing. As you know, I don't like WordPress, but we've inherited some clients that are on WordPress, so I'll try and move them along at one stage. So essentially, I am the key project manager, and I organise both the web development and the support for clients and create the brief and the architecture for design and development, which then team members implement. So we've got a project management system, obviously, and I allocate tasks, well, as a project manager would. And I also do admin, sales, marketing and finance. So for one person, that's quite a lot. So as well as the concept of running multiple platforms was just impossible going forwards with all of that. So
even the category.
The category?
The cat.
Sorry?
Yeah. Did you hear the cat meow?
Oh yeah,
Right,
the cat. We're looking after the cat as well. We've got this gorgeous house we're looking after for friends, and the only thing we had to do was feed the cat. So I think that's pretty good. So, like many partners, while it was extremely disruptive to our business of the fact that there was the end of life, we kind of looked at it as an enforced opportunity for change, because it was getting unmanageable, or not unmanageable, but it wasn't the best use of my talents. So I decided that I wanted to position Web Team Adelaide so that I could step out of the project management role and get more into the business development role, which is what I like doing, and I'm better at, I think, and also to do more mentoring and consulting work with my niche. And this is kind of key to why Siteglide was a good choice for me as well. My niche, I've decided, is to do with solopreneurs who are more in the health, well-being, mind, body, spirit, well-being niche, but are wanting to build a tribe. So the marketing component is really important, and the all-in-one functionality is really important as well, because these are people that their brain doesn't function in a technical way in general. And I know that's a huge generalization, but I could see that this integrated offering that Siteglide were providing, I could create some really good services within that. So that was one of the reasons. Oh, I've already started on that. Okay, so fundamentally, why Siteglide became the primary tap voice was because it was built on platformOS. So I always knew that I wanted to do something that was built on platformOS, and the reasons, well, you're all here, so you know. Trusted team and community. So we've known the leadership team for over 10 years. The culture is fantastic. It's transparent. It's got an abundance mentality, and it's very, very collaborative. The vision is very firmly customer-centric and future-oriented, and I don't think there's ever been a time when that hasn't been as important as it is now. So we're really in a really fast and endlessly changing environment. So picking platformOS as the, I guess, the foundation is just really important, or was really important to me. And the capability, of course, is limitless. I had to say that, Adam, the limitless word. So that's the platformOS side. Excuse me. Hay fever. The Siteglide
I'm getting
team,
emotional as well. Thanks.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that was just emotion, not hay fever. So the Siteglide team has got a really strong developer team as well. So that's important, obviously, for them to work on top of platformOS. And the thing that really attracted me, or sort of was another plus for them, was that they've been running as a web development company for many years in their own right. So they are not just developers of the platform that they're building, but they understand the end user. And that's what they've been doing for many years. And obviously they had to come up with a solution for their own clients. So you know, they had skin in the game as well. Obviously they had extensive BC experience and a deep understanding of marketing functionality. So it was a very experienced and cohesive team. And I remember looking at them. Sorry, Luke, I'm talking about you as them, which kind of must feel really weird. But anyway, the fact that I had sort of stalked your website before, and I could see that you were using Active Campaign on top of Business Catalyst. So I knew that you were really serious. Sorry, the cat's just doing stupid loops. That you were really serious about having really good marketing functionality. And that was important to me, because that's what I'm wanting to do with my niche predominantly, is help them build their own tribe. And that's really important. So also there's the unified portal, admin and website interface without BC's limitations. So it's kind of like, you know, all our wish list items coming together. So ability to have as few or as many modules and functions as we need, so there isn't that bloat. Using set modules, plus having the ability for custom ones created for our websites. The portal concept, of course, and this smart billing system that's just on the cusp of coming out, which is actually the reason why I've built some sites, but I haven't made them because I really want to wait subscriptions for clients by mistake. And this will allow me to have them build directly and add on services as well. So that's just going to be a huge business value to me. And of course, the community marketplace with community members, who we know and trust. So, you know, very exciting. Hang on, I slipped back. Where am I? So the other thing that I'm feeling is that the other thing that I know is that there's genuine co-creation. So a lot of people will say, or providers will say, well, we're going to listen to you, and then they listen to you and then nothing much happens. But the approach of Siteglide to feedback and collaboration has just been amazing. So we were able to be really frank about what some deal breakers were for us and the ones that were addressed. And one of the things that was, I had it wrong about a whole lot of things. Other things were that Luke and their team hadn't realised how certain information had come across on the existing documentation. So talking about things and approaching Luke was really, really good. And I know a lot of partners feel sometimes that they don't want to, bother someone who's really busy, or that we might sound quite demanding. But Luke's always put me at ease with that and says, has said, unless we say things, we're not going to get what we want. And they'll have people not using the system because of information that's actually incorrect. And so I was able to clarify lots and lots of points of confusion that I had, which helped with documenting, but also better functionality that we asked for. So they've really been bending over backwards to make things work, and open to and encouraging working together on the creation of different modules and functionality, which has been great. The really cool thing about this co-creation is that a lot of partners, in our search for alternatives, we've seen so many other platforms out there. So we were all kind of welded on to BC initially, and wanted all of those features. But once we saw what else was out there after 10 years of being in one system, we've been able to see what else is possible. So now we're, asking Luke and platformOS people to do those things for us as well. I'm just keeping an eye on the time here. Cool. So we've got really good ideas to throw into the mix and to create the product that we really, really want. So moving on to some very specific website examples. Should I pause to see if there's any questions there, or will someone let me know?
I'll let you know.
Okay,
Ursh.
cool.
Everyone's just hanging on to every word.
Right. Okay, so exact replication. So it was actually quite difficult to work out which websites to go with first, because there's so many elements to consider in selecting a website. So it was not just the features and functionality, but also how a particular client might use their website. And by that I mean, there are some clients that I know are going to need the visual editor because they edit their website all the time. Other clients have not looked at their website for 5 years. So those are quite good ones to move because they're not precious. They're not, they give me a bit of wriggle room as I learn the system, and they're not going to have changes that they're themselves wanting to make. So the ones I've chosen, the first ones that were exact replications, were those that had no change in design or functionality from Business Catalyst. Now, it's possible that they could have been rebuilt better from scratch, but their budget didn't allow for that, and there's no need for things to change. So Alison Fort website, she's actually a designer, a graphic designer on Team Adelaide. So she does the logos and style guidelines and things like that, but doesn't do the web design part of things. So she's got a Business Catalyst website. And what she uses a lot inside of Business Catalyst is the email marketing. And I know that that's just about a really basic form of email marketing. She's got 3 web apps. I'm going to actually just go into that example now. So this is the Business Catalyst website for her. And this has come from the design has come from a WordPress theme, actually, that was developed in Business Catalyst. So it's a very simple portfolio site, but it's got some interesting kind of design things. She's got a lot of her portfolio is categorized, and then here you can kind of go view different actually I'm trying to work, here we go. you can flick through the different elements there. So what I want, anyone that's worked with a graphic designer will know how extremely pedantic they are about pixel perfect things. And here you can see, I'm just going to flick between that one and the Siteglide one. And it is identical. And I released this to her a few days ago, and she could not pick up on anything that was different. So she's really, really thrilled with it. Actually, the only thing she noticed was that the testimonials by default had been in alphabetical order, and she wanted them to be placed in order of recency. So I'm popping to the back end of that to show you. So this is the Siteglide backend interface. So here's the portfolio gallery. And the thing with this particular design is that some of these items would have only one image and some items would have multiple images. So the web app that was created in Siteglide had to account for that. So this, what I'm loving about Glide is how it feels very familiar in terms of what our BC brains are used to, but familiar but better. So custom images, here you can see that we've got just the one image, but there's capability for up to 10 images. That's what she needed. Trying to think if there's anything else to show you there. We didn't use categories in that one. So again, I thought this is one that we could have actually developed better given the capabilities of Siteglide, but the budget wasn't there, and a straight migration like for like is what we decided to do. Don't know if there's any questions there. Nope. The second one, and this one is just in progress. This is a Business Catalyst, the Business Catalyst version. And again, this client I've chosen because he has not had any support requests with me for probably 5 years. So that just hasn't changed. So again, this is just a very straight migration. And this is where we're up to with it. There's a module and menu to go in there. Just going back to here for a minute, just to make sure I haven't missed anything. So
we've got a question, Ursh.
Yes, yes.
Is the photo gallery included in Siteglide, or did you build it? And Luke might want to jump in too if need be.
Okay. That gallery feature, that wasn't a gallery in Siteglide. That was, I think, a JavaScript thing. So again, this is because it was like for like. If we were rebuilding it, then perhaps a gallery could have been used there. Maybe Luke, you could jump in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, essentially modules are web apps. So you could easily build the equivalent one from BC in a web app in Siteglide. They're just database items. We do have a gallery module in the works that uses web apps, and we'll release that soon, but it's something that you could easily sort of replicate for now.
Mm.
It's the same basically.
Yeah.
Will your new one be using some of the cool stuff that Pavel showed off recently, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I'll let,
awesome.
Yeah. Just to point out, on the front end, you could do whatever you wanted. So you could still use a JavaScript lightbox or whatever you wanted, but the imagery and the database side of things would be handled in the module.
Cool.
We do have one more question. Barbara's asking about how was the site migrated? And I'm guessing that that is an open-ended question. Was it using a tool that just took the web app schema and duplicated it? Was it kind of cut?
It was manually migrated in the sense that we didn't use an exporter. We used the developer I know we didn't use an exporter, but Peter used the process that Siteglide taught us how to migrate it. That's very technical, isn't it? You can tell I'm a non-technical partner.
I imagine it was sort of copying layouts, copying assets.
That's right. Yeah.
Replacing a BC tag with a Siteglide tag, so it can be done very quickly, really, for especially smaller sites.
Thank you, Luke.
No problem.
Noted that there was a CSV export and import. I'm guessing that that's probably for web app items.
For the web apps, yeah.
Great.
Well, the other thing that's more along with something that I'll be able to do is the database, because this client uses email marketing a lot, and she's got lists and she's got basic communications that she uses from BC. So I'll be working out how to do, once that's ready, I'll be exporting her database and her lists and so on. So okay, so that's why I chose Jim Trim. So, and the other example I was going to show you was Vertex Health, because that was an exact migration as well, but at the same time the client wanted a new edition, so it was an opportunity to migrate and create a web app at the same time. So let's go into that one. So again, if you have a look at what that looks like, it's just identical, except that you'll see a projects tab here now. So already you can see it's better because this one doesn't have a secure certificate. Here we've got the, well, obviously the domain's not on there yet, but it's secure, it's got the reCAPTCHA, and we've got the projects. So I'll show you this from the front end and then I'll show you from the back end. So what this client wanted was the ability to show projects that she's worked on, but some of the projects she had a lot of information about. So there was a read more, and you'd go into that, whereas other projects were just kind of like a project list. So again, this is the benefit of having something that's created. We're waiting on a couple of logos. The benefit of having something created in a way that our brain is used to in terms of web apps is that we can use categories. So when Graham was developing this, he created some liquid that we would tick if something was a longer type of project, and then the read more would turn up here. However, I also wanted it ordered so that all the projects that had read more to them showed up first, and then other clients that were just a list would show up afterwards. So I'm just going to pop into the back end of that one. So this is all something that feels really familiar, which is just so nice. Okay, so I go into web apps, projects, and just go into one of these. So there's all these familiar things, but here you can see categories. So I decided to categorize them into projects that had the full project detail and projects that had no detail. And that meant then that when we went onto the projects page, not sure what I did there. You can see how that's been done. So the category, it's listed by category ID. So this should feel quite familiar.
And the toolbox on the right can help you write that as well. You can
down here, yeah,
on the right, and it can.
Should I try it? Should I do another one?
Yeah. So yeah, the web apps. Yeah.
Isn't this beautiful? Also, this is the other cool thing. In business, tell me if I say something that's completely just incorrect, Luke. I'm sure you will. So in Business Catalyst, we just had, you know, a list layout, it was very limited, whereas in Siteglide and through platformOS, you can have an endless amount of layouts, and you can just select the layouts that are related to that particular. Actually, these layouts, are they web app specific layouts that drop down here, or are they general layouts that you might have in a template?
Yeah, so when you create a web app, there's the default one that's made, so default list and detail view, but then you can go into Code Editor and make, as you say, unlimited custom layouts.
Cool. So just as we had with Business Catalyst, you can have all the items listed, you can have a specific item listed, or you can, all of them listed by particular or by category or whatever. So
you can do category. It's not in that that list yet, actually. So that's something where the docs come in, and you just type.
Yeah, he did something here. Description, category IDs. Yeah, cool. All right. So that is pretty awesome. And then the other thing I was going to show you was, yes, I don't want to change anything. The forms. So again, this is BC-esque, but better. So you can edit when you're creating forms. This is the other thing that I've been noticing, is that there's just more and more and more functionality being added all the time. So for every single form, you can select obviously your autoresponder, which is something that obviously we're used to. But there's also the workflows, so you can have a workflow per form. Look, actually, I was going to ask about this because in BC we had a whole section where we have workflow notifications, but is this more granular, so we can have a totally specific workflow per form rather than groups of workflows? Yeah,
exactly. So that workflow is for that specific form. You can choose who you send it to, and you can also pull in every single field from the form, which BC sort of just dumps into one group. So you could really customize those autoresponders and workflows.
So my CRM brain is for marketing, and you know, when those other features come in, being able to use add user profiles as well. And there's a really cool way of adding the recaptures as well. So you can see how nice that looks here. If you haven't done this yet, you have to kind of go into Google and set it all up in the first instance, and then it shows up nice and neat there.
I've got a question.
Yes.
About workflows for Luke. Can you, I know you mentioned you can, whatever data is associated with a form, and then you can use that however way you like in the workflow. Can you do conditional stuff with that? Like, could you use
you can put liquid tags in there?
Yeah.
So I would assume so. Martin, maybe you want to answer
that was my leading question.
Not just yet. It's not something we thought about, actually. We could put it in on the ideas list.
That's a good idea.
The good news is that you're only a step away from it because you've got access to all the data and the GraphQL behind that. That's great. Good.
I mean, there's lots we want to do with that once email marketing's out and everything, in terms of trigger based and really user conditional based workflows. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and what you just said is what I was thinking when I was selecting. I just knew that you guys were really familiar with that kind of way of thinking because you've been using ActiveCampaign. So yeah, I just love the marketing direction and the marketing thinking that's integrated in all of this. So,
and we just don't want to put limitations in, as Dean's just said in the chat. Actually, the great thing is you can tap into platformOS directly via the CLI, and you could actually custom do that. What Adam was saying with the sort of conditional formatting and workflows, you could do that via Graph and CLI. And again, that's where the more technical elements are possible, but you don't have to do them. You can stick to the sort of UI based stuff if you want to.
okay, so where am I up to here?
While Ursh is getting that up, to your point, Luke, about the UI based approach, from what Urszula demonstrated with the selecting from the toolbar, where you could select the web apps and then there's the web app list, and then you could select that. From there, you know what metadata is associated with fields and field types, and then drag and drop. I see in your future a drag and drop way of building out the flows so that you can then draw lines, and a non-technical person could do the whole graph query creation without writing a single line of code. Anyway,
yes,
I know you can do it. I know you can do it. You've already proven it. Sorry, you're in the right spot now, Ursh. I'll let you go.
Cool. So another site that is in the planning stages, because it's a very big site and very complex. It's actually possible to do this one in Siteglide right now, but we're just sort of planning it out because it's a really big project and it's complex. So, and it's really important because unlike something like Jim's Trim or Alison's site, their site is their business. That it's, you know, it's like an e-commerce site, except that it's not largely e-commerce. But it's about courses. So it's their main source of capturing business. So we've got to really think about how we do that. We've had meetings with the Siteglide team to work out how best to migrate the site. It's complex because it's got 5 domains and 5 different languages, and they trial going into different areas as well. So, you know, they might add more site and more domains and languages. Actually, yeah, I'll quickly go through this and then I'll show you because it will make more sense. But there's multiple ways to pay on this website, not on the website, sorry, for the business. There's deposits, there's online payments through PayPal and cash for some of the courses. And there's multiple course structures. So most of the time, the course is divided into 10 delivery modules, delivery days, but in some countries or in some contexts, those 10 modules are delivered differently. And there's also 2 business units. So there's 2 separate PayPal accounts, and depending on the course and the course's location, payments and processing for course inquiries are done differently, and they have courses all over the world. So really, in thinking this through, we had to work out how we're going to do it, whether we rebuild it from scratch using best practice design and functionality, or in Siteglide, or do we migrate it as is and then improve it incrementally, which is what I think we're going to do. So this is the website, and there's a lot of speed optimization that we will need to do on this one as well. can see that courses all over the world here. And often multiple courses in the same location, because the courses run over a period of 2 years. So what happens, let's find the course. So this one's in Auckland. So you can see that we've had to put in course dates for all of these entries. So the 2018 course is still in progress. There's things like tutors that are attached to particular seminars. And when someone applies, they have an application form that has to be populated, and then it goes to the appropriate person. So it really is quite complex. We've got a Chinese version, a French version, so it shows up where it is, and the menu changes and so on. So that one is quite complex, and I thought I'd use that one as an example to show you how I'm trying to work out what plan a site is going to be on. Because one of the, hang on, I'll just go back to here for a second. One of the things that's done differently, both with platformOS and Siteglide, and it's a good thing, but it's different. So our brains aren't quite used to working out how to work out what plan someone's going to be on. So I was going to show you how I'm doing that. And it starts with looking at what the usage statistics are. I'm sorry. Okay. So I've pulled that directly off Business Catalyst. And then understanding things like how long clients need their records and cases to be stored. So like this particular client, once they register and pay, they don't actually use Business Catalyst for that client record at all. They use another form of email marketing. They use a MailChimp, I think, and they have a spreadsheet for communications. I don't know why they do that. This is an inherited client, but in their case, right at the moment, they're not going to need a whole lot of records and cases stored. So that impacts on data. And things like understanding how much email functionality they use. So they've got a very busy site from a data usage point, but not so much from an email functionality point. So if you're a Business Catalyst partner, looking at this kind of plan means that we still need to do a bit more, what's the word, conversion of how a site is used in Business Catalyst versus what plan they're going to be on. I've put a little arrow up there into currency. I've taken the pricing off because I know that this will be distributed publicly. But what's been really cool is that's just an example of responsiveness by Siteglide. So this was all in US dollars. And when we're trying to work out these plans, it's quite complicated. So that scrolling to the bottom and working out what these plans were for in Australian dollars was scrambling my brain. And so the team put in a drop down there for Australian dollars and is it euro? Is that the three currencies?
Pounds at the moment, I think.
Oh, pounds. Yeah, pounds. So it just makes it so much easier when you're just looking at all of this data and trying to work it all out. So I've created a document here here, which I'm happy to share without the purple bits on it, how to work out what's that term again? My brain's gone. I'll just go back here. Database items. So things like database items and API calls. That's the things that we're not so familiar with. So with a database item, all of these things that I've put on this document are database items that are part of the calculation. So here, I've looked at all the web app items in body intelligence. Web apps. You can see how many different web apps they've got. So hopefully you won't have something as complicated as this, but I had to go through all of those to see how many web app items they had. And I totaled them up. How many CRM cases, blog posts. They had quite a few blog posts, media downloads, and so on. And that, once you've got that, you'll then get an idea as to what is the best plan for that particular client. The complicating factor with them is that they've got 5 domains. So I've got to work out how the overages work for domains. The other thing that doesn't automatically come across, although I believe Luke and Adam, emails are going to be a separate thing, but still offered on the SRS plan. Is that right?
So we're doing our integration so that you can seamlessly migrate from Adobe to us, which you can do already, and then you'll be able to manage them in Siteglide. But yeah, they would be charged on top. I believe, Adam, you've got plans on that as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, you go, Adam.
No, I was just saying yes. Yeah, that's going to be a seamless option for the future.
Yeah. So this is this is quite a manual process at the moment, but it's only because our brains aren't really used to thinking about things in this way. Whereas eventually we'll be able to kind of know that. And one of the suggestions that I put forward to Siteglide, which they had already decided they were doing anyway, was that when you go into the portal, the partner portal, sorry, my internet is slow. And so you go into here. The usage stats are up here, and then there will be something in here that says suggested plan, which will be really good. I guess the thing for us, and the reason why I've created this spreadsheet, is that we kind of need to calculate that ahead of time when we're presenting a solution to clients. We have to have some idea. But this is really good because as things change here, we'll know when someone's reaching their limits and so on. Actually, while I'm in there, you can see what modules are installed for a particular site as well. So you can reinstall them, install them, or not install them at all, which is also very important because you end up with a very lean site. Okay, back to here. So if anyone wants a copy of that, a clean looking version of that, you're very welcome to it. I'm happy to share that. So as an example, as an example of asking the right questions and encouraging everyone to ask lots of questions, if I hadn't asked Luke about the pricing and given feedback about that, I'd still be floundering and worrying about which platform to choose, because a lot of us, while it is an opportunity to sort of move up the value chain and all of that, we've still got the problem of all the clients that have got BC pricing expectations to contend with. And what I realised was that the starter and the light plans will be sufficient for many of my baby sites that sit there and don't do very much at all. So one of the things that I really wanted to convey, I guess, is that the information that you think you have might not be the correct information, and how important it is to get involved in providing feedback. I know that behind the scenes, lots of people have got questions. A lot of people have been saying, well, partners are talking amongst themselves about what different solutions are able to offer. But until we actually ask those questions directly, we could kind of be off on a tangent that's not correct. So I think asking questions publicly is really important, because if you've got a question, others are likely to have that question as well. I'm imagining that from the team's point of view, it saves a lot of time for the team in answering once rather than the same question many times. The other element of asking it publicly is that it promotes a lot of discussion, collaboration, and a better outcome in the end. And you will also get a much more authoritative answer rather than an interpretation that comes through me, for example. I'm not the most technical person to answer questions sometimes. A question for Siteglide. How would you like to receive the following types of communications? Because they're quite different. A support question, which is when I'm trying to do anything specific, might be different to a general question, and obviously that's different to a suggestion versus something that's a complaint or a grumble. So what do you think there, Luke?
Yeah. So yeah, generally I'd like to go back to some of your points at the beginning about the kind of questions you had to answer and roadblocks and those kind of things, and we really do encourage people to ask questions, make sure they get the answers to things, and discuss generally. So I think the best place for that, the best way for that to work well is for people to put questions in the more collaborative places. So the Facebook community that we've set up is a great place. Intercom is really, really good at managing sort of one-to-one sort of personal questions or specific questions with a customer. And we kind of push that, but I do think it's really important that there's collaboration and discussion of things. So I think in general, try and put it in the Facebook community, and we're in there all the time as well. So we'll jump in and answer it, but somebody else might be able to answer it as well or give their input. So we'll have to see how well that works, but I think that's what I'd like to suggest, that everyone feels free to sort of just put it in there. Somebody jumps in and approach it that way. Obviously, if it's something very specific to a project or an issue or something like that, then feel free to come via Intercom. Intercom is the best way for sort of very specific points and questions that you have for us. And then finally,
sorry, while you're on the Facebook thing, would
Sure.
it be of use if people did hashtags for, say, things like menu builder or specific functionality, so then it's searchable as well?
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I'm not the biggest user of Facebook. Maybe that's where somebody else can sort of, other people can suggest how to use it and how best to get the most out of it. But I think a sharing, collaborative approach is clearly beneficial tool. So I think we should try it and see how we get on with that, really. The third route is we do have beta partners who test out some sort of new functionality, and there's a Slack channel for that. So I think some of the beta features are best discussed in that channel, and then obviously you guys help us get to the bottom of certain things, and then we release it fully. So
could you maybe post a link, whoever's got the Facebook link and the Slack link for those channels? That Mark's asked how to find the Facebook group. So if you could just maybe post to that
Yeah, I'm sure Martin will put a link up, hopefully.
It is a group, not a page, isn't it? Because I'm pretty sure I've been in Facebook groups where they do the hashtag thing, and I didn't realise, but it is searchable. So that I think if it's a group structure, not a page structure, you can do a search.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because one of the ideas that I had was, you know, I often do looms to explain how to do things. So if someone's asked about, you know, how to do a menu or something, that's functionality that it's there, but it might be changing. So there's no point in putting that in the official docs, but having things uploaded into the Facebook group as changes happen. They don't have to be sort of perfect recordings or anything, but just changes, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense? That probably didn't make any sense at all. I guess what I'm thinking there is that there's a lot of content and like mini tutorials that could be put into Siteglide by those of us that are using it that aren't official, but how it's working right now with, say, with Menu Builder.
Definitely, that would be really, really good to see, and I think everybody would benefit from that. So, definitely, we are creating our own kind of forum community area within Siteglide, and that will happen at some point. But I think Facebook is a great place. It already exists and is a proven place to manage that kind of thing. So I think we should definitely start there, and if anybody has suggestions of how to improve it, then we can.
Cool. So I think we've actually already done that. So yeah, any questions for anyone, but particularly Luke? Actually, this is my own question, so I've popped my own questions in first since I've got the talking stick. The thing that I'm still trying to get my head around is obviously platformOS is like the foundation, but the interaction, or when we hear that something comes to platformOS, what those implications are for Siteglide, whether it's a given or whether it's an option. I'm not very well.
I think it probably really depends what it is, but and also depends what type of user you are. If you have the CLI, for example, then anything that comes to POS, you can pretty much tap into straight away via the CLI. If you're not, then again, depending on what it is, it might take us a little bit of time to implement it, or we might then be able to build something really cool because of that new extension that platformOS have done. So feature-wise, I think we'll have seen in the last few town halls and most of the town halls that we're talking about things at a similar time. Australian data center, certain new features coming, SSL and DNS improvements, those kind of things. So we're obviously working very closely and coincide releases, or we try and get using them as quickly as we possibly can. So quite a lot of the time, I think it'll be at the same time or very close. But generally, question-wise, I would have thought most would come to us if they're somewhat related to Siteglide. If they're a very specific platformOS question, feel free to put it in the Facebook group still or whatever. But obviously, there's the Slack inner circle or other ways of asking a platformOS related question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've got any thoughts there, Adam.
And yes, just to clarify, command line interface is what CLI means, for those who are wondering. And for anybody wondering, well, that could be a bit too difficult for me. Remember FTP, when you first started using FTP, there was all these various tools that made FTP, because FTP was a command line interface. In fact, it is. In fact, your web browser is a command line interface tool that connects to a using code, if you go into your browser and you look at the source behind what's going on, and you look at the way that the browser interacts with the web server, that's all command line interface stuff you can do. You can do a get, you can do a post, you can do all these things. So what we'll probably see with the CLI tool, it becoming easier and easier to use. Somebody very clever will do a little GUI interface over it, just like Pavel did with the direct S3 upload feature, where you just drag and drop into your browser, and behind the scenes, it's going to upload it, optimize the images, and make them available for you to use in Liquid. So CLI for dummies, if you like, will be tutorials that we'll continue to add into the platformOS documentation, the award-winning platformOS documentation. I'll stop the video shortly and tell you about that. So it is more complicated to use the CLI tool as you dig deeper into wanting to understand how the mechanics of it work. You know, it's like you buy your car, you jump in it, you just drive it. If you open up the bonnet and you start to tinker in there, well, you'll need to read a manual. Or get some training, and we're going to help out with that process, and then we're going to continue to work with our partners like Siteglide to make things even better and easier. And really, that's also the job of partners like Siteglide. They'll take what we've built as a feature, S3 direct upload, the additional functionality with API that Pavel has done, then they'll suddenly take it to a whole nother level of ease of use. And that won't be our job. That'll be Siteglide and your and other partners' jobs to do. Anyway, there you go, CLI, command line interface. We'll try and make it easier, but it is definitely defined for the mechanics amongst us.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I don't know that I made it clear enough at the very beginning, but one of the real reasons behind also choosing Siteglide is the fact, and platformOS, is just that the trust that we've got in the developers to deliver on pretty much any project that comes our way. And because one of my directions is doing more of the consulting work, I can see pretty much anything anyone says they want to do, we'll be able to say, yes, we can do that. And then work out who from the community will do it. But it's pretty much anything's going to be achievable. So pretty cool. I think that's it from me, unless there's some questions.
It's a final point from me if there are no questions, but just going to have a quick look and let somebody jump in. I'll jump in for now, but feel free. Yeah, I'd just like, oh, I think we've got on. No. Yeah, I'd just like to thank you for doing this, Ursh. And so many of those points at the beginning, it's really interesting when we first started talking and hearing some of those questions that you had. And I really always enjoy discussing those kind of things and hearing it from a different perspective, because we had no idea how people were interpreting it. Yes, we've used Business Catalyst for 10 years. We have built hundreds of projects. We know projects, we know the platform, we know what we want to do, but we don't necessarily know the situation that everybody else is in and exact roadblocks to get started, the main things that people need with either a platform or that their agency needs sort of right now. So definitely welcome any kind of questions, suggestions, complaints. Complaints are a good thing, either feature requests or whatever they might be. Yeah, and not just to us. I think one of the big points that you raised is the collaboration side of it and community side of it. So I'm really keen to see how that could happen in the Facebook group to start with, and then we can expand from there if we need. But yeah, any questions at all, I think is a good thing.
I know I really thought at the beginning, I kind of felt like everyone's so busy and they're working so hard and all I've got is this list of demands or, you know, and then it was like this hard spot to be in, and I felt like I was just like wanting. And then after starting talking to you, you know, that's exactly what you need to hear, because you're creating a product that you actually want us to use, you know. Yep. And people have got to get over that little hurdle of feeling like they're like pulling and tugging, and, you know, you've just got to say what you need.
Definitely. Yeah, we have learnt loads of things. We've implemented things, as you've shown. We've improved pricing. We've improved lots of things, hopefully, by listening and adapting. So, yeah, I think it's just how we channel it and how we improve the way that people can communicate it. So, again, even comment on that and give suggestions as to how that could be improved.
Yeah, how can we make people not feel like they can't ask the questions? Also, you're very empathetic too, Ursh, so you probably think, oh, I don't want to bother people. So we appreciate that you pushed through, because we wouldn't have known. You know, Siteglide are the same. So I know that Luke is very, hey, look, I know you're busy, guys, but well, we wouldn't be able to build the product without the questions, without the feedback loop happening throughout every touch point and every perspective. So there's no such thing as a silly question, unless I'm asking. Now we've got another question from Steve. Luke would love to see a template with some of the functionality of Siteglide built into it to help me learn the best way to move forward. So I guess that's like a site that's functional. Hey, go ahead and replicate this site. It's got a web form on it. It's got a web app on it. Similar, I guess, to the BC demo sites. Luke, you want to talk to that?
Totally agree. We had the demo kit that we had for quite a while. We've removed it because we don't want to go down the template route in certain pages, but totally agree that there needs to be like a tutorial, a sandbox, or whatever there is to get started, because a blank page is not helpful. So we're definitely looking at that. I think the design system helps massively there. So when you install a module like Blog, it comes pre-built with layouts, all responsive, all ready to go, and then you can just go in and customize. So we'll just keep expanding on that, I think, and turn it into a demo module, if you like. That's the great thing about modules. They can be individual tiny components, or they could be a complete project or boilerplate or community or whatever.
Yeah, the Figma integration you've done in that workflow is fantastic. Any more questions? Well, you've answered them all, Ursh. Fantastic. Awesome stuff. I really appreciate you taking the time and to be so thorough and also detailed in the journey, because so many others are probably still scratching their head, and then there'll be a whole bunch that won't even realize that end of life was mentioned until suddenly their sites stop working. So hopefully we'll be able to get this word out. And for those who would like to reach out to you directly, you mentioned some of those resources that you'd make available. Do you have a web link or email address? There's your email address. It's Ursh, URSH, at onlineiq.biz, for those who can't see the screen right now. So head over to Ursh, URSH, at onlineiq.biz. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for those who have been watching. I'm sure you'll have seen all of the questions that came through during this video recording that you've watched have probably already been answered, and new features have been deployed. So go on over and check out Siteglide and what they've been doing. And Ursh has probably got another 50 sites live that have happened since. And we look forward to sharing more in the future. Thanks everybody. I'm going to, you know what, I won't stop the video, because again, people will probably watching this later, but I did allude to a little something that's happened. This isn't to do with the crowdsourcing award that we've been asking about, the Dev Portal Awards, which you might have seen us talking about, Dev Portal Awards, where those of you who haven't yet, please vote for platformOS. Go ahead and vote for us. Go to voting and put in your email address. Go and vote for platformOS. This is actually even more astute, and the Siteglide team will relate to this, because this is the UK Technical Communications Award. And we were part of a peer-reviewed group that includes IBM, ClearBank knowledge centers, an LPG cylinder filling systems manuals, technical writing, even the GDPR ISO standard 27001 toolkits were part of this. We won. We're a winner in this. The feedback from the peer-reviewed team was that we're an outstanding example of how technical product documentation can work as an integrated part of the product, etc. So we're very proud of our team for getting that. We get to put this logo on our partner on the documentation site. We hope we win the other one as well. We're in the top 4 apparently, but this is amazing to be recognized by such a auspicious, is that the right word? A respected group such as the ISTC. So that's my little announcement. Thanks to all of my team. And notices question, can I link to that? Yes, I will do that. I'll send a link out. Might do that in the inner circle as well, Barry. But again, thank you to all of you, and particularly today to Ursh and her patience and her ability to push through and come out the other side bigger and better as an agency than ever before. And we're right behind your success too, Ursh. So thanks. All right, everybody, thank you. We will wrap it up. And for those who are in the chat, there is the voting, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.